Dublin Bowl in Dublin, California. Prime proudly presents the Contour Power Grips Open, the 19th of 22 Open Division qualifiers of the Brunswick World Team Challenge. And welcome to Earl Anthony's Dublin Bowl in Dublin, California, where we began the tournament with 76 teams, now down to the final 3. The winner are going to go from here to the Grand Championships in Louisiana. How you doing, everybody? Good to see you. I'm Bob Dolan, alongside, of course, the Hall of Famer Earl Anthony, the host Earl Anthony. 76 teams here this week, Earl. You do a pretty good job as a host. You may want to think about taking that up full time.
Well, Ted Hoffman gets all the credit. He does all the work.
It was a great event all week, and now we've got 3 very good teams here for the championship. Let's start with number 1, the home team. That's always dangerous.
Well, it is, and this is a particularly talented team because they do have local knowledge, and that could be the deciding factor. Lane Concepts being the type of team that can all really get it going and string some strikes for you.
Now our number 2 team features a Hall of Famer, Mike McGrath.
Mike McGrath is a Hall of Famer. He's retired now, so he spends a little more time playing at the game of bowling. Mike has always been a very talented winner as an individual, as are the rest of the players on his team. The question is, can they get it all together and bowl as a team, because the opening match is a tough one.
Yeah, that's against our number 3 seed, Contour Power Grips Price Trophy.
And they've won this tournament the last 2 years. They're led by Matt Sorta himself, a 3-time PBA champion. And if the team was strong in the past, you have to consider it possibly even stronger now with the addition of former national amateur champion Paul Fleming.
All right, that's our lineup. It's a great one. We're glad you're with us. Semifinal match is coming right up.
Congress and the Women's International Bowling Congress, providing championship service to sanctioned leagues across the United States. Make sure your league is sanctioned by the national governing bodies. By Lynn Shoes. For the performance approach, it's American-made Lynn Shoes, the choice of bowlers worldwide. By Contour Power Grips, the pioneers of the finger grip industry. More pros choose Contour Power Grips. You should too. And by Brunswick. Bowling is sold on Brunswick worldwide.
Bob Dolan and Earl Anthony with you from Earl Anthony's Dublin Bowl in Dublin, California for the semifinal match of the Brunswick World Team Challenge Contour Power Grips Open. And in the semifinal match, number 3 Contour Power Grips Price Trophy against our number 2 seed Todd Storm Bowling Supply from Las Vegas. Nick Black will start for Price Trophy. Championship lanes 9 and 10, and Nick Black starts with the strike on lane 9. Now leadoff man for Todd Storm Bowling Supply, Ken Fernandez.
Ken, an old timer, been around a long time, only 37 years old, but he's got a wealth of experience. Like I mentioned, this team is loaded with individual talent, just whether they can get it together as a team.
It's often overlooked, isn't it, Earl? You can put together 5 very talented bowlers, and yet that doesn't mean you're going to go out there and win it.
You're right. That's very true. Here's another look at that last shot, and you can see Kenny gives it a little more trust than might be necessary right now, and trying not to get in trouble, and he ends up getting in trouble, leaving the 2-7. A very good spare shooter. Just whether or not he is familiar with that side of the lane through the practice, I doubt if he threw any balls over there. Ball will hook sharply on the back. Gave it a little too much room again. Kenny struggling a little bit early on, but it's 2 games total pins.
Contour Power Grips starting lineup brought to you by Contour Power Grips, pioneers in the finger grip industry. More pros choose Contour Power Grips, and you should too. Matt Sorta, second frame for Price Trophy. We've seen Sorta quite a few times here in the Brunswick World Team Challenge. Leaves the 10 on his first ball.
Well, his team has won this tournament the last 2 years, and this is only the third year it's been here at Dublin Bowl, and they've won it both years. So they are our only champion, Matt Serena's team. 3 of the 5 players on this team have been in the championship team from the last year. Spares have been tough. You got to be careful with the corners. The ball tends to want to hook or skid, and if it skids, it goes in the channel. If it hooks, you cover the 9-pin, but when you're shooting the 10, that doesn't help much.
Saw some good scores here this week, though.
She's excellent scores.
Yep. All right, here's the Hall of Famer, Mike McGrath, ABC and PBA Hall of Fame. Second frame for Storm's Bowling Supply with the first strike of the night for his team. Take a look at their lineup. Contour Power Grip starting lineup. Again, brought to you by Contour Power Grips. They're pioneers in the finger grip industry. More pros choose Contour Power Grips, and you should too. Third frame for Contour Power Grips, Bob Davidson, the lefty. Beautiful.
Well, Davidson, again, a very powerful left-hander, the big chest. Here's now look how he goes to the side, the lane, almost the foul line sideways, and then rotates his upper body around underneath and gets a great rotation on the ball. And there's the power you see generated by his release, the ball not deflecting at all, covering right over the 9-pin.
This is Timmy Scott, third frame for Storm Bowling Supply.
And they seem a little more tentative than the aggressiveness of Matt Serena's team, and jumping out to an early lead could be the deciding factor in this match. And again, the comfort of being the defending champion the past 2 years, knowing they're capable of doing it again, and that's I think where maybe some of the pressure early on in this match is being felt by this team, Todd Storm Bowling Supply, which is not nearly as experienced in the team competition.
I'm sure, Earl, that you defended many a title in your day. Does it give you an advantage to know that you've won there before?
Not only in your own mind, Bob, but I think in your opponent's mind. They feel, hey, these guys, you know, they've already won. They know what it's like, or this particular person, or whatever it might be. And that is a small advantage. It's not a big one, but it's a small one. And it does, the comfort factor of feeling at home is always a big one, and that's what our tournament leaders have. Something that you can't buy. If you live here, you got that small advantage.
Frank DeRemer with some trouble here in the fourth.
To 6-7, and Frank kind of wondering what's going on out there. You know, I threw 3 or 4 in a row in practice, and all of a sudden I get up and I hit the middle of the headpin. He's going to use the same ball he threw his strike ball. He's going to try to slide the 6 cross lane into the 7, and he'll just look at the 10-pin spot. He's just trying to roll this ball over the 10-pin spot and get enough of the 6 to slide across the lane, and that's close, but it fell off in the channel.
Take a look at some of the numbers from our week-long here at the Contour Power Grips Open at Earl Anthony's place. High game. There's Dale Traber from Milwaukee, 279, along with Guy Emanuel at 279. Craig Harrington also. Ricky Corona, and he's got trouble.
Well, Ricky, another longtime PBA member. He's won several PBA regional titles. Did very well in this bowling center when we had the national tournament here. Ricky Corona always been a top player in the Bay Area.
Fourth frame for Corona, and there's an open for his team, Storm Bowling Supply.
How many times have we seen this, Bob? I mean, it seems like every time we go out and watch the guys before they go on the air, and they're throwing strike after strike after strike. They go on the air, and the first 5 frames, it's panic time.
And then they usually turn it around, and
here's a guy that won't panic. Paul Fleming, the reason he's bowling anchor, at 27 years old, this guy can flat play the game. Great follow through, tremendous release, and here's the result.
And he's very familiar with this format. He was a member of the 1994 Grand Championship team.
Yeah, and he's been around, like I say, only a few years, but in those few years he's packed in tremendous amount of success, and here's why. Watch the position at the foul line, watch the follow through straight up, right up over the shoulder, the elbow at the floor, and tremendous power in that release, but he stays with the shot. Doesn't pull a hand out of the ball, just stays with it.
His opposing anchorman is Rick Berry.
Well, I'll tell you what, just an observation, and it may not be a fair one, but just to look at the team that we're watching right now, Todd Storm Bowling Supply, they may not win this tournament, but they have definitely won some races to the buffet line, I'll guarantee you. That just creates more energy.
Who's doing your writing now, Earl?
It just creates more energy. There you go.
All right, Rick Barry. They can't hear this, can they?
I hope not.
I hope not either. A
I'm leaving
12-pin lead for Contour Power Grips. We'll be right back, I think. Dublin Bowl, Earl no longer here. He's been thrown out of the building by Todd Storm Bowling Supply, so it's me from now on out by myself. Guess a host can get away with that, huh?
Well, they're all good sports, and I know that they will forgive me. I was just making a little joke.
That's right. Nick Black, 6th frame. Now, second time around now for all these bowlers. 6th frame for Priest Trophy and the Open.
Well, this is a struggle. Both these teams so talented. It's almost like two heavyweight boxers doing a little sparring, and nobody wants to step in and mix it up, really. Let's play safe here and make sure we don't make any major mistakes. And meanwhile, they're making major mistakes.
Ken Fernandez now.
Both teams going at a 174 pace, and it's time to get picking up. And here's a guy who can get it going for him. Fernandez has always been a good pocket player. In other words, able to hit the hole. Just could never carry the 10-pin on the tour. And now he can't even hit the head pin, so he's really in trouble. The 1-2-8, and Kenny's kind of shaking his head there, and he's kind of wondering what's going on, and the team's looking at the floor, and that's not encouraging because if they're down mentally, they're going to be down physically. Try to cross the head pin with the ball here. Get it on the left side of the head pin. Let the ball take out all 3 pins.
Earl, you mentioned earlier that we see this quite a bit where in warm-ups they're knocking them all out of sight, and then when the show starts, it's a different story. Do the lanes change between those 5 or 10 minutes?
We run out there and we redress them.
Is that right?
Looking, yeah. We
you're the host.
Oh yeah, we go out there with a spray gun. We spray oil all over the place, and they don't know it's coming, so we got them at a disadvantage. And here's a good look at that last spare shot. He covers the head pin with the ball, and he got the good pin action. He really didn't play it that way, folks, but you can see the smile on Ken Fernandez's face, Mike McGrath, and the guys on the team saying, you just lucked out, that kind of thing.
3-pin lead for Contour Power Grips. We're in the 7th, and Matt Serena.
The very familiar result of a release by Matt Serena, 10 in the pit. Matt Serena, another player that uses upper body strength. He uses his shoulders to rotate the ball down the lane, and this is kind of a change from the old style. The player used to swing the ball and use more wrist power. Now the guys are starting to use their shoulder because they don't want to put a lot on the ball physically. They don't want a lot of rotation because the ball does the work for them, which is, here's a guy that can epitomize that, Mike McGrath, who used to trip the 6-pin all the time. Now he's out there playing half pocket because with these new balls, he can get the 5 out.
Boy, you are in quite a mood.
Well, Mike's a friend of mine. He might hit me once or twice, but it won't hurt very much.
I assume you went head-to-head with this guy for a while, huh?
Oh, yeah. Mike used to beat me like a drum. Is
that right?
Hall of Famer, I believe 10-time PBA champion. He's in both the ABC and PBA Halls of Fame, and very deservedly so.
Do you have guys, Earl, when you're on the tour that seem to have your number? Are there guys that when you go against them,
with 43 seconds, you're asking me that question?
The spare for McGrath in the 7th, 8th frame now, 6-pin lead for Contour Power Grips. Remember, this is a 2-game total pinfall in the Baker system. And the winner will take on our #1 seed, Lane Concepts, the home team. Bob Davidson.
And the 6-8. And that's just the ball overhitting in the pocket area, a little high in the head pin, drives through, no deflection. And that's the result. The 6-8, the pocket split for the left-hander. As a look at it, you see a little bit high in the head pin. The ball doesn't deflect, goes in front. And the ball in a perfect hit, as you know, we've talked about this, Bob, should hit for a left-hander the 1, 2, 5, 8. Well, the ball hit so hard it cut in front of the 8. Oh! Tried to slide it over, very close. Spares have been a little tough. It's been easy to get to the pocket, and we've had a multitude of strikes. Ernie Schlegel in one of the sweepers shot 277, 300, something like that. I mean, Ernie Schlegel again is still bowling well. Getting the corners out and then making the spare has been the problem.
This is Tim Scott, 8th frame, Storm Bowling Supply. Hey, you mentioned Ernie Schlegel. Earl, we had a great field. Steve Cook, Frank Ellenberg, Chris Barnes was here.
There's a name out of the past, Steve Cook, huh? Big Steve Cook. What a great guy he is, and fine bowler.
76 teams, 9 states. Nice job. Couple of fellas from the senior tour,
yeah, my age bracket, you know, up there. And some of them came in. Yeah, Ron Winger, Hobo Booth. Some of them came in here with crutches and wheelchairs, but they bowled and they did quite well. You know, Larry Lobb, I think Larry Lobb was in that group.
High series, a 733 from Guy Emanuel. There's Ron Winger.
Ron Winger.
720.
I'm just joking there, but Ron Winger, very successful on the senior tour. Still in great shape physically and bowling very well.
Craig Harrington with the high qualifying average. All right, 9th frame. Back around to Frank DeRemer. War Contour Power Grips, our 3rd seed.
Frank was high last time, hit the middle of the head pin. He's going to give it a little more room here, a little more ball speed. Beautiful result. Here's another look at that shot. Watch how he gets this well out in the lane in front of him. Pretty good loft here. 3 or 4 feet out in the lane. And actually, to get more ball speed and get it down the lane farther, he stood up at the foul line, which is that's hard to do. And there's a little extra help to get that 10 pin out.
Ricky Corona. Oh, a beautiful ball from him in the 9th.
And the team up off the bench saying, nice shot. How'd you do that, Ricky?
Now they're loosening up a little bit, aren't they, Earl, after the shaky start? Contour Power Grips up by 4. First game of our semifinals.
Many times one of the lanes is an advantage over the other, and you'll see a big spread in the scores. Maybe the left lane will give you a 220, the right lane a 170. Not today. It looks to me like both lanes are equally tough. Or both teams are bowling equally poorly. Either way you want to look at it.
For now, let's blame the lane, shall we?
No, let's blame the players. It's my bowling
right at your house, yeah.
Paul Fleming, as usual, in the pocket.
Beautiful.
As usual, a strike.
2 in a row for Fleming. 27 years old and already a long resume. And a member of the 1994 Grand Championship team, 2-time collegiate All-American.
Look at the stuff he's got on. He looks like a race car driver. He's got many stickers on. I'm going to tell him put a helmet on and a visor and a couple of stickers on the side of the helmet and be ready to go. Look how serious Paul looks now. The concentration in his eyes, no blink, nothing. Just 10 in the pit.
Oh, he's got 3 in a row.
That's why he's bowling 5th. They know he can do that. Otherwise, Matt Serena would be down there, who could probably do it also.
We will see Fleming, by the way, in the Grand Championship event this year because he's qualified on a team that won in Texas.
And if this team were to go on and win, they would have to replace Paul Fleming on this team because he is designated to play on the other team, and maybe they'll let me bowl.
How about 4 in a row for Fleming? What was that?
No, I don't think they will either, so thanks anyway, Bob.
4 in a row in this first game for Paul Fleming. A 180 game for Contour Power Grips.
Yeah, they pulled it out. The last 2 guys doing their job, throwing 4 in a row, and here's a chance, really, for Todd Storm to get right back into it with a couple of strikes here in the 10th for their anchorman.
There's one.
There's one, and boy, hit him pin, watch him spin. He really had him dancing that time. He just stacked them up like cordwood over there by the 10 pin. Had 3 or 4 pins just jump up in the air and land on top of the 10 pin.
They're lighting it up now, Earl.
Well, a couple of them are. Anyway, let's hope it gets a little more exciting in the second game of this 2-game total pin match. And as you mentioned, the winner goes on to take on Lane Concepts, who pretty much dominated this thing in match play.
Another one for Barry. No, the 7. Oh, he liked it.
Well, it was a great shot, just not a good result. The solid 7. Both teams probably feeling fairly fortunate. The scores are close. Could be a lot worse. With the scores they bowled, they could have been, either team could have been in real trouble if had one or the other gotten it going strong. They'd threw 4 or 5 in a row.
Well, our number 3 seed Contour Power Grips Priest Trophy is going to have a small lead as we head into the second game of our semifinals. They're up by 15, 180 to 165. Right back with you, 180, 165, the score of our first game in the semifinal. 1 more to go. Contour Power Grips Priest Trophy up by 15 as we start. Remember, they switch lanes now. And Todd Storm Bowling Supply starts it off here on the left side. Lane 9, Ken Fernandez.
Well, he has yet to get the ball back to the head pin. That's 3 tries for Kenny, and he looks back at his teammates and say, hey guys, what am I supposed to do here? I thought I made a pretty good shot, and 1-2-8. That's the second time he's left that. Remember, last time he did make it, but not the way he planned on it. He hit the right side of the head pin, and they just got the right kind of pin action. Let's see if he can get it on the left side of the head pin where he wants it to be and get all 3 pins with the ball.
Kenny, member of the 1978 ABC Tournament Team Event champions.
That's a little better.
Beautiful.
Yes, look at his eye.
Going.
He doesn't have a lot of confidence going right now. He has yet to get the ball up to the head pin.
All right, Nick Black, the leadoff man for Priest Trophy. Again, they had a 15-pin lead entering this game.
You see Nick digging those fingers into the ball. Then he lays the thumb in, get that good solid grip, and rip the holes right here. He gets all of it, folks. He doesn't leave anything in the bag, and sometimes he gets a little too much. The 3-6-10. He looks back at his teammates, says, this pair's hooking more, guys. This lane, I mean, is hooking more than lane 10 is hooking more than lane 9 based on that shot.
So important, isn't it, Earl, to watch all bowlers, to get the lane reaction and the adjustments you have to make, even watch your opponents.
Exactly. I think that's a key, to watch your opponents, to learn how their ball's reacting. And there's a look at my partner right there, Ted Hoffman.
So he did all the work this week, huh?
Yeah, he does all the work all the time.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Ted's a hard worker and one of the better promoters in the bowling industry. And he's very fortunate to have a gorgeous wife. We didn't get a chance to see Marilyn, but she's sitting right next to Ted, and there she is in the corner.
It's McGrath.
Now, when I bowled Mike McGrath, he never left the 6-pin. He tripped it every time. Oh, yeah. He always tripped the 6-pin. So that's why he looked kind of...
Just against you, maybe, huh?
Looked a little disconsolate. There's a look at Marilyn Hoffman. Well, see, she rubs off on her husband. Ted rubs off on Marilyn. If he frowns, she's supposed to frown. So that's how it works. Right. And that's a partnership. It's a good marriage.
Good marriage, yeah.
They have 5 great boys, too.
McGrath gets the spare in the second. Anybody you're not going to touch tonight here?
Well, I'm going to work on Peter Hagan here in a minute.
All right,
I'm going to pick on Peter. Peter's our scorekeeper today. He's our statistician, and he's doing a wonderful job as usual. And, of course, his mother is the grandmother of his son, obviously, which Brian, right? Is that correct? Brian.
It's funny how that works out.
Isn't that strange? Matt Serena, first time on the right-hand lane, and as usual, Matt's right in that pocket area. Matt throws a little bit of a spinner. By that I mean when you spin the ball, that means your thumb goes down, your fingers come up, and your fingers go around, your wrist rotates around the side of the ball, thumb goes down, and that creates a spinning rotation, ball spinning on a very small part of the surface of the ball. And by doing that, he can get it well down the lane. Watch the rotation of his arm around the side. You see the thumb coming down and the fingers coming up over the top, and that's what creates the spin. And not only does it spin, but it gets tremendous back in on the ball, makes it hit very hard. Oh, Matt didn't like that. He feels fortunate to pick it up.
All right, we're still we're tied here in the semifinals between our number 2 and 3 seeds. Now Tim Scott, third frame for Todd Storm Bowling Supply. Still a 15-pin lead. Where we were when the second game began, and Scott, nice ball in the third.
Here's another look at that last shot, playing right over the third arrow, the 15th board from the right-hand channel, getting out about the 8th board and bringing it back. A lot of forward, heavy roll on the back end, and a feeling of relief. Finally got one. Here's a guy that gets a lot of strikes. Davidson has been one of the premier lefties in the area for quite a while, and that's why.
There's another one. Davidson the strike. We'll be right back. Ricky Corona in the 4th frame for Todd Storm Bowling Supply. They're still down in the match.
Well, great shot there by Ricky. Just a little late getting it back to the entry point into the pocket area, and when you're a little late, comes in behind the head pin, you tend to leave that 10-pin standing in the corner. And again, he's switching balls, using as much of the lane as possible, standing to the left. He's going to play around the 4th arrow, throw it hard and straight at the corner pin. Hard and straight, good shot. Good
Pretty much like that. Well, both teams looking more comfortable now.
Well, you know, it's kind of interesting. The Baker format always puts you in a situation where you feel the pressure, and that's what the bowlers enjoy the most, I think. The fact that they get a chance to be under that kind of pressure on national television gives them an idea or a feeling what it's like to maybe bowl for a living, which a lot of these guys have never had that opportunity. You only get to help your team 4 times in this 2-game match. Total pins to determine the winner, and that's not very much.
Right.
You know? One mistake and you feel you've really hurt your team.
I've had a lot of bowlers tell me, Earl, that they put more pressure upon themselves than the teammates do, although they think the teammates are putting pressure on them. You know, but
well, you don't want to let the guys down.
Yeah, right.
You really don't, and you feel like you have if you make a mistake or miss a spare, especially a spare, because at this level of competition, you're not supposed to miss spares.
Rick Berry, the anchor man for Todd Storm Bowling Supply.
Here's a look at, watch what happens when you hit the head pin light with this many rotations on the bowling ball, this much power, this much ball speed. Watch the head pin. Goes all the way to the side, comes back, takes out the 6 and the 10. He had pins going in all different directions. It looked like there were about 20 of them, and you're only allowed to play with 10, I think. Mr. Perfection so far today, right?
4 for 4.
Now, see, there's a excuse me, Bob. There's a result of information from his teammates. All right, this lane is hooking more, so he's moving deeper. See how much farther he is to the left where he's sliding now than he was on the left-hand lane. He's playing just outside the 4th arrow where he was playing just outside the 3rd arrow. So he's moved 4 or 5 boards on the surface of the lane for his target, left, trying to find oil, and it still wasn't enough. He wasn't deep enough. Here's a lineup shot, and he's using the 5-pin to line up to the pocket. So in the 10th frame, he knows now where to throw it. So expect him to hit the pocket in the 10th. That was a good shot there. It was a good lineup.
All right, last time around for all these players in the semifinal match. Remember, our #1 seed Lane Concepts of Dublin waiting for the winner. It's a 24-pin deficit.
This could be a real key shot right here. This is the guy they look to, Ken Fernandez. That's why he's bowling leadoff. They want him to set the guys up, and right after the anchorman strikes, they want him to come back with one. And this is the best shot he's made so far.
Oh boy!
And look at the result. Now that's just disaster. That is absolute disaster. A 7-10 in the pocket. Just bad luck. This is the best shot he's made today, right here. He's right over the 3rd arrow, exactly where he wants it to be. The ball's in the pocket area, and that's just bad luck.
Boy.
It's a great shot. 5-pin goes behind the 7. That's pretty unusual.
He can't believe that.
See the look, the expression on the audience's face.
Yes.
His eyes light up, and that's a mistake there. You don't want to do that. That cost the team extra pins. They were on a strike, and he just blew that extra pin there away, which is 2 pins when you figure him being on a strike.
Boy, big turn of events. 38-pin lead now for this club. Priest Trophy and Nick Black in the 6th frame.
And Nick doesn't leave much on the bench or in the bag. When he gets to the foul line, he gives it all he's got. And here's great rotation, lots of room, and still got it back too hard. And this is what you call the reactive resin splits right here. This is the kind of thing that happens with the big hooks. You don't see this with rubber and plastic bowling balls. You only see it with the kind of balls that they're playing with today. These super-powered bowling balls that will knock down telephone poles. Well, they knocked down the head pin and left bunches of them. He's got the 3-6, 4-7. He's going to slide it across. Oh, not quite enough of the 3 to get the job done.
All right, so that tightens up a little bit. Semifinal match. And our #2 seed trailing at the moment by 22 will be. While we were away, Mike McGrath, the spare in the 7th. Matt Serena, a spare in the 7th. So the lead 22 pins for Contour Power Grips. We're now in the 8th frame. Tim Scott.
Tim Scott, a very determined type of player. By that I mean he's very aggressive. He likes to attack the pins. Look at that heavy end over end roll. When it makes a turn to the left, goes into that heavy end over end roll with a great entry angle and a good result. Here's another look at it. Watch it. He comes around the side and lifts straight up from that point. So he doesn't continue to turn. All he does is rotate the axis of the ball so it's sideways. When he picks up the roll, he's got all 16 pounds hitting that pocket rather than it rotating on a small axis and causing deflection. It doesn't deflect at all.
Now Bob Davidson in the 8th for the team on top. That'll help.
The more he wants it, the harder he throws it, and the more he puts on it. And boy, he can get all you want on that bowling ball. Davidson, big, strong guy, and again, hitting it thin. Watch what happens to the head pin. Goes to the sideboards, comes right back, kicks out the 6 and the 10. And that's kind of pin action you'd love to have. And he's giving it all he's got, running it out for Bob. That's 2 or 3 steps.
It's 3 strikes for Davidson here in the semifinals. Ricky Corona.
Well, they're getting into it now. They're getting pumped up. Somebody went to the corner and their coach said, "Hey guys, we need a knockout here. We're going to lose this. We're losing it on points. So get it going." And here they come.
What kind of answer DeRemer has?
Well, this is the guy they need. He can set up the anchor man, and you know what their anchor man can do. Paul Fleming waiting in the wings. If they can get this strike, he could put it away. Oh, that's disaster. What do you think, big guy? This is not looking like
unexpected, wasn't it?
Yeah, no question about it.
That guy.
See the other members of the team, Paul Fleming on the far right there. He's not looking real happy right now. He's saying, boy, I wish he'd have got a strike there so it wasn't going to be so hard for me. Now the spare, so important. The 1, 2, 10. Slide the 1 into the 10. And remember, the middle of the lane tends to want to hook away from this head pin, so he's got to get just a little of the left side of the head pin. Slide it across. Good effort here. Oh, got a shot.
Beautiful.
What a shot. How important is that, boy? Let me tell you what a great clutch shot to keep them in the driver's seat going into the 10th frame. Here's another look at it. Watch this. Perfect ball speed. Just enough on the end to get to the left side of the head pin, and that's how you do it right there. That's performing in the clutch.
All right, down to the anchorman. It's a 12-pin lead. Here's Rick Barry. There's one.
Well, the key here is they cannot shut out Contour Power. Regardless of what they do, Paul Fleming still has the opportunity to win this match. Not the situation you really want to be in, but that's why Paul Fleming, and we mentioned 27 years old, he's waiting in the wings to see what he has to do to win this match. He's talking to one of the other players, get an idea of what the lane is reacting like. Remember, he crossed over on his shot in the 5th frame on this right-hand lane, so he's not really that comfortable. And he's starting to look, normally Paul Fleming looks very confident. Right now, he doesn't look that confident.
Getting the advice from Nick Black. There's 2 for Rick Barry.
This is going to be exciting. Let me tell you what. Boy, I love it. It always seems to do this. Comes down to the anchorman so often for us, and that's what makes great matches. Possibility of a total of 380 for this team, and if they should get that, if he should feel right here, that would mean that Paul Fleming would need 2 strikes and a 9 count to win. So count very important. He needs all 10 of these.
Rick Barry, 3 in a row.
Well, we know exactly where we stand, and so does Paul Fleming. He's at the ball return, getting ready. He knows he needs to throw 2 strikes and at least 9 on the 3rd ball for his team to advance into the championship match. Here we go. He'll get it down there in a hurry. The deep breath, lots of concentration, lots of ball speed. Oh yeah, he likes this. He liked it, and he just didn't get the break off the wall. That's where a good player throws it when he needs it. He tends to get it light in the pocket rather than go high, and he threw it where he wanted it. A lot of ball speed.
Well, a very sudden turn of events here.
Something you wouldn't have expected. You wouldn't have expected. It doesn't matter. And Paul Fleming showing his little bit of irritation there at not getting the strike. And you wouldn't have expected Paul Fleming not to get the first one. If anything, maybe the second. But the first I expected him to get, and he made a good shot.
Well, they're a 20-pin victory, 380 to 360 for Todd Storm Bowling Supply. And they're going to move on to take on Lane Concepts when we return around the bowling.
Time to go around the bowling world. Brought to you by the High Roller Tournaments at the Showboat Hotel in Las Vegas.
If you have a limiting or severe disability, bowling is your year-round accessibility sport. Over the years, there have been many prosthetics developed that will allow the disabled bowler to access the sport with a great deal of proficiency. These devices help the bowler generate improved ball speed to knock down more pins on a consistent basis. And that makes the bowling experience both competitive and enjoyable at any level of ability. One relatively new innovation is the handle grip bowling ball. These products are designed for those with limited hand strength who cannot hold a finger-drilled bowling ball. People with arthritic problems, amputees, and even some stroke patients can now propel a ball down 60 feet of lane bed with energy equal that of an able-bodied bowler. The development of the switch-release bowling ramp has given the severely physically challenged their entrance into kegling. Every bowling ball has a weight block within its shell. When the bowling ramp user learns to utilize this weight block in relation to the position the ball is placed before it leaves the ramp, a surprising amount of energy can be created and turned into an impressive score. These products are available through places like the Flag House Catalog Company, who are nice enough to provide the handle grip ball and switch release ramp we're using today. You can check with your local home medical center for a distributor nearest you. For the mobility impaired, competing effectively with able-bodied bowlers has always been a challenge. But that could change with a vehicle like this. The bowling wheelchair is basically a self-propelled electric wheelchair that has been modified for the sport of bowling. With this vehicle, a disabled bowler can time their swing and release with the computer-controlled movement and automatic braking of the chair. I personally put this prototype chair through some extensive testing and have consistently experienced scores in excess of 195, with 1/300 game to bowling wheelchair's credit. With a lot of practice, this chair can enable the disabled bowler to compete on an equal basis with his or her able-bodied counterparts. No matter what your level of ability, with the right prosthetic and enough desire, you can find a home in a game of 10 pins. Hope to see you on the lanes. I'm Blaine Denius.
Around the Bowling World has been brought to you by the High Roller Tournaments. Call 800-257-6179 for information on how to enter.
Coming up next, our championship match. Number 2 against number 1, Lane. Championship match. We're ready for it. Number 1, Lane Concepts, the home team right here in Dublin, against our number 2 seed, the survivor of the semifinals, Todd Storm. Todd Storm Bowling Supply, and starting it off will be the number 1 seed on lane 9, Joe Baca.
I like that, the way you put that, Bob. It's very aptly put. The survivors of the opening match, and that's true. That was there was a lot of bloodletting going on there. Both teams really struggled.
It's 380-360 was the final margin.
But this team, Lane Concepts, did dominate the match play. They knocked down a lot of pins in match play. They didn't lead the qualifying rounds, but once it got into match play, they took over and just kind of ran away from the field.
Joe Baca, his dad sure had an effect on many a career, including yours, didn't he?
Yep, he sure did. Sam Baca himself, in his own right, a very fine professional bowler, and then he became the lane man for the PBA and did an outstanding job along with Len Nicholson for a number of years, traveling with the PBA Tour, and he was the lane man, and he determined what the players were going to bowl on. It was pretty much a test every week, but it was a fair test.
Ken Fernandez remains in the leadoff spot.
I talked to Kenny right after that opening match, and I said, Kenny, what's going on out there? He says, well, you know, I missed the headpin the first 3 times. He said, I'd want to get off national television without hitting the headpin at least once. He says, and I finally hit the pocket and left the 7-10.
Well, he starts off well here in the championship. The Contour Power Grip starting lineups brought to you by Contour Power Grips, pioneers in the finger grip industry. We'll take a look at the lineups in just a moment as we get to Ron Ware. Second frame for Lane Concepts. Beautiful ball from Ronnie Ware.
They look pretty comfortable out there. They look like they're very comfortable. And again, I mentioned when we did the stand-up for the Open, and the fact that this particular team, Lane Concepts, they're familiar with the area. Several of the players have lived and bowled in the area, so they feel comfortable here around the Dublin area, and that can be a big advantage. Home cooking.
Can't beat it. Your buddy Mike McGrath in the second, the Hall of Famer.
Mike's game has changed a little bit over the years. Mike, 50 years old now, and for balance, he's got an earring in his left ear that keeps him from falling off to the right. But Mike didn't used to stand up quite so abruptly at the foul line. He used to stay down a little more and chase the ball with his hand, which gave him the accuracy that he really was the dominant factor that made him such a tremendous player. You can see now how he stands up on his right knee. It's almost like there's some pain there. I'd have to ask him about that.
Well, a couple of spares for Todd Storm Bowling Supply as we begin the championship match. Third frame now for our number 1 seed, and this is Chris Poulsen.
Chris, one of the finer lefties in the area. Watch how he rotates the ball. Good concentration. Very strong player physically. Got that one off his hand in a hurry. He's not going to like it, and got away with it. Only the 4-pin. They just lost that at the bottom of the swing. I don't doubt if Chris has been on television very often. Only 24 years old, and league average in that 2.8 to 2.10 bracket.
He's got an interesting job, doesn't he? He's the clubhouse manager for the Oakland A's.
Yeah, he gets to keep all of Mark McGuire's broken bats. How about that?
Right?
Yeah, what a good deal that would be, huh? Mark McGuire can break a lot of bats. Is he hitting bowling balls over the fence?
He could probably do that.
Yeah, he probably could do that.
The spare for Poulsen in the third for Lane Concepts. Now back to Tim Scott. Scott finished that semifinal with a flurry, 2 strikes in a row in that second game of the semifinal victory.
I like the look in his eye.
I'm sorry, Earl. This team scored a 215 in that second semifinal game.
Yeah, I like the look in his eye. He looks like if they're not going to fall down, I'm going to go down and knock him down.
He probably would. So that's 3 in a row for Scott here. And we're underway in the championship match. Number 1 against number 2. We'll be right back. This is Pete Scrimples. 216 qualifying average. His first ball. Beautiful. Take a look at some of the other finishers this week at the Contour Power Grips Open at Earl Anthony's Dublin Bowl. Finishing 5th. Lynn's Limited, they were back again.
All the way
Played well
Milwaukee.
again.
Wow.
Vice Grips of California finishing in 6th. We'll take a look at the others in just a moment. Ricky Corona in the 4th for Todd Storm Bowling Supply.
Ricky just continues to move left with his feet and his target, but that right-hand lane seems to really be changing. Going through a transition, the oil's moving around a little bit with the amount of play that's been on it, and it seems to be the one that's losing its pattern the quickest. The ball hooking a lot more than the players anticipate, and it's going to be awful hard to get off that right-hand lane with a good score the way it looks. Tough spare. Here, the 3 to 9, he wants to get both pins with the ball, ideally hit the right-hand side of the 3-pin. Just like that.
Beautiful. All right, finishing 7th. Final touch of Riverside, California. In 8th, another Contour Power Grips club from Vancouver, Washington.
Ernie Schlegel.
There he is. In 9th, the team from Medford, Oregon. Bricky's Pro Shop. And the top 10, the shop. Good field this week, Earl.
Strong field,
yep.
And again, sold out 2 or 3 months in advance. So if you want to play in these folks, you've got to get your entries in. In fact, I don't think there's a spot available left the rest of the year.
I think you're right. Mike Taylor, the anchor man for our number 1 seed. Our first look at him. And he's pumped up about it.
Yes, he is. There's a lot of emotion out there right now. And don't get in their way. You could get hurt.
Oh, this guy could hold his own, I think. Rick Berry, remember what he did in the second game of the semifinals. Struck out. He lift his team to victory.
Right. He's the one that got him here. Just up to a matter of whether he can keep it going. And sometimes there's an emotional drain, and there's the result.
Sure.
You get out and you give it all you got, and then, you know, you kind of let down a little bit. And then maybe you lost a little ball speed there. But, of course, they finished on lane 9, so which has been shown to be the tighter or the one with the lane that doesn't hook nearly as much as lane 10. He's gone to a very hard-shelled, smooth surface bowling ball here. He wants to get the left side of the 2-pin and throw it into the 10. He's got to hurry. Oh, my. That ball hooked a lot more than I thought it would.
Big open. Here's what we have coming up. Early June, the Princess Lanes in Pittsburgh, and then we go to Kansas City, the NKC Pro Bowl. And then our final event is going to be in Baltimore, Country Club Lanes. And from there, Earl, we go to Kenner, Louisiana to crown the best of the best.
Boy, I'm looking forward to that. It's going to be a lot of fun, especially down in Kenner, Louisiana, the Treasure Chest. You know, it's just what a great venue. Kansas City might have an opening or two. They should call Tom Bodecker at the ABC, and maybe they could find out if they're in, if they want to get in. But boy, they better hurry. I just have my doubts.
Then after Louisiana, we start right up again with the new season in September in Portland, I believe, is the first stop.
We do. They're by the way.
Look at that.
How about that? Just
give them a call, 414-423-3387 for this year or even for next year. Call them now for next year. Open frame for Lane Concepts from Joe Baca, 6th frame.
Well, they could afford that. They didn't want it, but they could afford it because Todd's Storm team has yet to get it going strongly in this opening game of this 2-game match. And very quickly, let me give you an idea what the format's all about. We had 76 teams here, a full field, obviously, and those 76 teams bowled 6 qualifying games. Regular team qualifying, total pinfall, cut to the top 10 teams. They bowled 10 2-game Baker matches with bonus pins, and you see our top 3 teams here in the championship round.
Well, Fernandez is thrilled, isn't he, that semifinal's over with. He's got 2 in a row in the championship. We'll be right back. Spare while we were away. Mike McGrath, the spare from the 7th, so the lead is 10 for our number 1 seed. We're now in the 8th, and this is Chris Polson for Lane Concepts.
Likes to line it, get that forward roll. He always gets the ball down on the lane in a hurry, but sometimes if he gets his feet a little fast, he'll pull it. Watch where he lays the ball down in contrast to some of the other players. Right there, it's on the lane. See it? It's already on the lane. And by that happening, you can't do a lot to the ball. So he kind of pushes it down the lane almost like he's playing shuffleboard, but it picks up that heavy roll on the back end, and that along with the combination of the angle he's playing, coming in at an extreme angle, will get the job done.
And the spare in the 8th for Polson. Some more of the numbers from this week. Lane Concepts, the Baker average of 213.6.
That's great average. Wow.
6-4, 6-4 match play. Contour Power Grip 7-3. Talk about running away as we talked, Earl. This team led from the start and stayed there.
They didn't lead the qualifying. The Storm team led, but it just took one match to get them in the lead, and that's where they stayed. Look at this, like a reborn team here. They figured out this right-hand lane. Remember in the opening match on this right-hand lane, what was their score? You remember it, right, Bob?
165.
Got a guy? What a guy. What a memory. You can see where he's playing now. A lot more ball speed between the 3rd and 4th arrow. Trusting it a lot. By that I mean giving it lots of room to swing out and come back. I like his game. I like his attitude, and obviously
4 in a row for him.
He likes the results he's getting. Here's another guy that can get it down the lane in a hurry and still get it to hit hard.
Pete Skrempus.
Oh, got a big break there.
Boy, beautiful. Take a little help.
Let's take a look at that. Watch what happens here. The middle of the head pin, and watch the pin go to the sideboard. That's the 2 pin. It comes off the wall, comes all the way back across, knocks the 6 down, and the neck of the 6 gives a little love tap to the 10, and it's 10 in the pit. What an easy game.
You bet.
Ricky Corona saying, I can do better now. Watch this, folks. I'll show you how this is supposed to be done.
I'll knock them all down at once.
Just like that. See there?
I don't need any help.
I don't need any help. I can get this job done. Tell you what, this 5-man team on the right that you're looking at right now, if they all get up together and jump up and down, we could have a report of an earthquake in the area. So we got to be careful. Keep these guys seated as long as possible. We don't want them to get too excited.
Mike Taylor, the anchor man, the emotional anchor man. His only ball tonight was a solid strike. Here's a second in the 10th.
Oh boy. Key shot there. That could have really put him in a position to at least keep this match fairly even. Now they could be down drastically if Todd's team with the good anchor man getting up there in the 10th can get a couple of strikes. They could get it out for around 215, which Lane Concepts right now, the maximum they're looking at is 194 and a possible 180 here if he doesn't pick this up. Tough spare. Slide the 2 into the 10. That's going to hook.
Up.
Yeah.
Well, our top seed's going to be in a hole, aren't they?
You bet.
One more game to go.
We've seen this guy in the 10th frame, right? Ooh. We know what he can do, and nothing seems to bother him. Very relaxed, very cool under the pressure. That opening match, he was the deciding factor in the 10th frame, and he's got a chance to put his team in commanding position right here. Oh, and he made a great shot with only the 6 pin. I like his game too. Great balance at the foul line, very smooth lefty.
Had to get that lefty in there.
Yep, got to say that.
Oh yeah,
got to say that. Yeah, it's not that I'm partial.
No, not at all.
Try not to be partial. Yes. For the spare, cross lane. You want to use as much of the lane as you can when you shoot your spares. I learned that from Ed Bauer. You remember Ed Bauer?
Is that right?
Yeah, he's the ABC champion.
Yeah,
team champion, all that. Yep. He told me always use as much of the lane as you can when you shoot your spares. Yeah, you'll be more successful, more angle.
We'd all be better off if we listened more to Eddie Bauer.
No question about it. No question.
Last ball of this first game of the championship match. And like a lot of the others from Rick Barry, he finishes with a strike, and our number 2 seed, Todd Storm Bowling Supply, going to have a nice lead as we head into our second game. 14 pins, 194 to 180. We'll be back with the second game in just a moment. Back with you. We're down to the final game. It's a 14-pin lead for Todd Storm Bowling Supply, 194 to 180 in that first game. Ken Fernandez will start again. He had 2 strikes in the first game of the championship. Looking for 3 in a row. Remember, they've switched lanes, so this is now lane 9 for this club.
Kind of an interesting release out of Ken Fernandez. I used to bowl against this guy on the tour, and he was always one of the more accurate players. Never got the ball to hit real hard, and he'd leave a lot of good, solid 10s, things of that nature. But watch how he kind of lets go all at once. He doesn't really lift the ball. It's almost like he's throwing it off his hand, like a shot put, basically. But he's extremely accurate, and he lets the rotation of the ball pick up on the back end, just the friction of the lane pick up the rotation. And very seldom will he get you in trouble. That's why he's bowling leadoff. Tough spare here, though. 2-7 for the right-hander.
Beautiful. He still walks back with that look on his face like, what's going on over here? He's happy to sit down.
All right. Joe Baca, very aptly trained by his father, Sam Baca, we mentioned, who was one of the touring players, won a PBA championship years ago. Joe, one of the local players and one of the crowd favorites here at Dublin Bowl. Got troubles here. Oh. Joe a little confused, as are most people bowling on lane 10, and it's amazing how the lanes will change. They're dressed exactly the same by the American Bowling Congress lane personnel, and they lay a pattern out there that is fair on both lanes, exactly the same pattern in both lanes, but just maybe the grain of the wood, whatever it might be, or maybe one lane gets a little more practice than the other.
First frame spare for Lane Concepts. Again, they're down by 14 as we head into this final game. Now Mike McGrath. Last TV appearance might surprise some people, 3 years ago.
Last time I saw him, he was in black and white. It's been a while. I'm just kidding. I'm not serious there, Bob. Don't look at me like that. All right, Mike McGrath. Watch him stand up at the foul line. Not the way he used to bowl, and he never used to miss the pocket like that. A big smile out of Mike McGrath, and I wonder if he's trying to stand up and use his legs to create more ball speed. It's a possibility with the reactive resin bowling balls that he needs. He never did throw hard, so he might be looking for more ball speed. Watch him stand up on the leg, and I think he's using that to try to create more ball speed. I don't like it, and I think Mike, if he could see himself bowling on television, which he will after this, he might change what he's doing. But
what other way do you recommend to generate speed?
You don't get much on it. All you're doing is basically pulling your hand out of the ball, and you lose your accuracy too. So you don't get good rotation, you don't get good direction. The ideal thing is to stay down over the knee, get your shoulders over the knee, and reach out and chase the ball to your target, which is what Mike used to do. And don't worry about the ball speed. It's more important to get it to where you want it to be than it is to throw it hard.
Ron Ware, second frame, Lane Concepts. Oh boy.
Oh boy is right. He a very direct player, and he tends to get the ball out away from his hip. And we'll take a look at his arm swing here as he goes to the foul line. Now watch what happens here as he turns his shoulders and his hips, gets the ball a little bit behind him, and then pulls it back around his right hip. And if we could see it from the back, we would see that the ball is several inches away from his body, and that's why he goes up the board, because he doesn't get the ball tucked in or create leverage from underneath his right hip where it belongs.
Well, they went for the pin count, but still an open frame in the second for Lane Concepts. And the lead is now 27.
Here's a contrast in styles. You just watched a replay of a player who was getting the ball away and going up the boards. Watch where this ball comes from, right out of his back pocket to create the leverage and the rotation. Coming right out of that back pocket, and all that back in. Almost got back, only the 2-pin.
First one Scott's missed in a long time.
If you want some power, look at this. See that ball getting tucked in behind him here? Now watch where it comes from at the bottom of the swing, coming from the inside out to the target. And that's how you get leverage. That's how you get back end. That's how you make the ball hit.
Beautiful. Scott with a spare in the third. They maintain their lead.
Got us a good match here. It's going to probably come down to the 10th frame again. Here's a guy that could benefit from the right-hand lane. Remember, this lane seems to be hooking a little more. Chris is going to get up here, and he knows it's going to hook a little more. So he'll just throw it a little straighter and a little harder. He doesn't have to make a lot of moves because he doesn't do a lot to the bowling ball. He could be a deciding factor on the right-hand lane here. There it is. Just getting it down the lane and hits the strike.
Beautiful.
See, the hooking lane's going to benefit that type of a release. Here's a look at his style now. Watch, he won't do much to the ball at the foul line. He'll just get it on the lane where he wants it to be without rotating it very much. So this is maximum control without worrying about trying to make the ball do any tricks. Mr. Corona.
Yep, Ricky Corona. Oh, got the 10 to go.
Then the first guy on the bench to react to that shot, of course, was Ken Fernandez. Because if you remember in the opening match, folks, if you were with us, Kenny Fernandez finally hit the pocket and got the 7-10 in the pocket. So he was up with both hands in the air saying, hold it, we don't want this again. For the 7-pin, remember, you have to pay attention on your spares. They're not easy. Corner pins are tough. Look out.
Oh, boy.
That's what I'm talking about. If you get careless, you can miss the easy spares. Now, the tough spares, which you would think are tough in the middle of the lane like the washout, you can pick up because the ball reacts true. But when they get to the left side of the lane and get that many revs on the ball, they're wasted. All you do is create a lack of accuracy and consistency, and you miss the spare. Something you should never do, especially in the second game of the championship match.
Remember that one.
That could be a key, no question. Here's another guy who can benefit from hooking lanes. He likes to throw it hard, and the harder he can throw it, the better he plays.
Strike cuts the lead to 4. There it is. Skrimpus has 3 strikes for this team.
Well, see, those two guys in the middle can be the key to this match because both of them like the lanes to hook a little bit. When you look at Paulson and you look at this man, or Skrimpus right here, they both like the lanes to hook a little bit. So this is probably why they decided to finish on the right-hand lane. They felt these two guys could maybe help them a little bit on the lane that is the toughest because it's hooking the most.
Rick Barry's picked up his team before. Oh, and again.
Now, you tell me what pin hit that one out of the pit. I got to make a guess that it was the 2-pin coming back off the ball and taking out the 7, but that's just a guess. That's amazing. He tripped it forward out of the pit.
Oh, we've got a dandy here.
Look at there, Ted Hoffman in the kind of a yellowish jacket sitting right on the edge of his chair. You think he's getting excited here, maybe? Maybe that or somebody pushed him and he didn't want to fall off. I don't know. Maybe his wife did it.
It may be.
She switched chairs with him. So.
Mike Taylor.
Oh, my. Mike, a very aggressive player, gives it all he's got every shot, doesn't leave anything on the bench, and again, made a great shot, had the 4-9 briefly, but he was in the pocket area on this right-hand lane, and a chance to extend that double into 3 in a row, but he got the break, only the 9-pin. And don't expect Mike to miss many spares. He gives it lots of ball speed, and he doesn't hook it.
And he gets this. Well, we're halfway home this final game of the championship match, and it's a dandy. We'll be right back. Heading for home. Todd Storm up by 5 over our #1 seed, Lane Concepts. Final time around for all bowlers.
Well, the key, again, were Chris Paulson and Pete Skrimpus. They did the job for him, and they're going to be able to do that again here in the finishing, I guess you might say, the finishing frames of this championship match. We're down to the last 5, and look at this guy. He's reborn again. Ken Fernandez is starting to like this game again. You got to keep an eye on him. He might be back on the PBA tour. Watch this. This is where you want to be when you're throwing a ball with good rotation. This is not where Kenny used to like to hit him. He used to like to hit him solid in the pocket. Now he can get that half pocket hit, and he knows it's going to strike because he's getting that good ball reaction, that heavy hitting power in the back end.
Sure use this one from Baca. They got it.
What a great reaction there to Joe Baca's bowling ball, and what a good move he made with his wrist and his release. Here he's not moving left on the lane anymore. Remember, he was deep inside around the 4th, 5th arrow. He moved out and went end over end with the roll and just increased the ball speed and skidded it down the lane, much in the way that Chris Paulson does all the time, and got the good ball reaction. That's experience. Mike McGrath, they need him right here.
How's that? Almost ran out of the building.
Yes, he did. Well, Mike McGrath knows his team needs this one really bad. This is his last chance to help them. And this is why he's a Hall of Famer. When you need him, he's there. There's 10 in the pit, and Mike McGrath is leaving the building, stage left. And that's all he's got. And he's got to sit down and rest a little bit. The oxygen will be there shortly.
Ronnie Ware.
Oh, my. Well, we got a problem here now. 3, 6, 9, 10, a tough spare, and they really need a mark here. Not necessarily a strike from Ron, but a mark, because remember, you got Chris Paulson and Pete Skrimpus coming up. They liked lane 10. If he can just keep it clean, they're still very much in the hunt here. Tough spare. Try to get the ball between the 3 and the 6. Let the ball take out the 9. So he's got to hook it a little bit. Oh, he got away with it. That's a big spare. That could be the difference in the match right there. The fact that he converted that spare, and they're still very much in this. You can see he hit it on the left side, almost like he would throw it in the pocket area, and got the good pin action on the 9.
Tim Scott has been one of the premier performers tonight for his team. This is his final frame. And another one.
Oh, they're driving the nails home now, folks. I mean, they're putting them in the coffin. This is a team that's really excited, and Mike McGrath might have been the turning point in the 7th frame when he got up there and threw that strike, but not only because he struck, but because he showed so much emotion. Here's a Hall of Famer, 50 years old, running it out 3 or 4 lanes away, and he got his team really psyched up for these closing frames. Chris Paulson, this is his last chance to help his team, and this is the lane he likes.
Beautiful. Boy, he sure does.
There's no quit. There's no quit in either one of these teams or any player on either team. They're all giving it everything they have. Another look at the great shot here under the pressure by Chris Paulson, and he's running it out too. Hey, Lefty, I can answer with one of my own.
Well, the lead's 35 for Todd Storm Bowling Supply. 9th frame, Ricky Corona.
Oh, almost the Jersey squasher. Crossed the head pin. High on the head pin on the left-hand side. Almost got the 5 pin and the head pin to slide into the 10. But remember how tough spares are. Remember what happens on the corner pin. So pay attention. This could put Lane Concepts right back in the hunt to win this championship. He's got to be careful. Oh, what a great job. All right, still anybody's match. We never know until it's over in the 10th frame.
Especially with Skrimpus up. He has 3 strikes tonight to lead his team, and he likes this lane.
Well, they have to have this one. There's no question that this is a must strike. This match still up for grabs, but it's running out of frames, and Lane Concepts wants to load it up for the 10th frame. Lost his balance a little bit. Got a little high on the head pin. Well, I guess, but that's generally what happens. You lose your balance, you fall off to the right, the ball goes to the left. And if the ball tends to go to the left, it's going to be a little bit high when it leaves your hand. And he got away with it. Only the 4 pin, only because of his great ball speed, kept it on line. That could have been the end of the match. Yeah, it looks to me like that was probably the one they needed to keep him in the match. This coming down to the last few frames, and it doesn't look like the anchormen are going to be a big difference here, regardless of what happens at this point. Let's keep it on the lane is the key for the anchorman, and he is very much aware of what he needs. He'll get up there and he'll make the best shot he can make. He's not going to try to play safe, because safe always gets you in trouble.
They need Earl 4 pins on this ball.
4 pins ought to do it. I would not be surprised to see all 10 of them gone when he throws this one.
Well, that'll do it. There's your winners.
Well, again, it's experience. 5 guys, all individual stars in their own right, coming together as a team, working as a unit, and getting it done. And maybe the glue that put it all together for him was the experience of Hall of Famer Mike McGrath, along with ex-touring player Ken Fernandez. They put it together. They were the guys that made this team maybe play as a team. But the key as far as getting the job done was this guy right here, the anchorman. He was the one that threw the strikes that got him to this point in the opening match and continued to be tough all the way through.
You know, each week, Earl, as we watch the winners move on to the Grand Championships down in Louisiana, we always seem to say, watch this team. They're going to make some noise in Louisiana. And
it goes on and on.
Yeah.
Kind of gives everybody an idea of how much talent there is around the country.
That's right.
And how many great teams we have bowling in the World Team Challenge.
It's a 419 for Todd Storm Bowling Supply. Take a look at some of the recent list of standings, Earl, for the ABC tournament still underway, and the WIBC tournament. The team leaders for the ABC, Trouts Minnows. There's our doubles leaders from Loveland, Ohio. All events is Scotty Kurtz, 22-24. From the WIBC in Buffalo, going to run through into June. Classic singles, Cindy Berlanga, 723. Classic all events, Leanne Barrett, no surprise, 1915. We'll see her, by the way, in Kinner. Classic doubles, Mandy Wilson, Linda Kelly leading with a 14-10. Our champions are Todd Storm Bowling Supply, and in a moment, there they are, in a moment we'll talk to them.
The Brunswick World Team Bowling Challenge is brought to you by Brunswick. Bowling is sold on Brunswick worldwide. By Lynn Shoes. For the performance approach, it's American-made Lynn Shoes, the choice of top professionals and amateurs alike. By ABC MasterCard. Get a grip on your finances with the ABC MasterCard. By Keepsake, designer and manufacturer of championship ring awards. By DBA Products, the industry leader in lane maintenance equipment. By Avis Rent-A-Car, the official car rental agency of the American Bowling Congress. And by the American Bowling Congress and the Women's International Bowling Congress, providing championship service to sanctioned leagues across the United States. Make sure your league is sanctioned by the national governing bodies.
Here are your champions in Dublin, California. Todd Storm Bowling Supply, 419 to 373 in our championship match. Mike McGrath, very impressive for yourself and for your team. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. We want to thank Jack Todd for sponsoring our team, and we just had a great time.
You almost ran out of the building here on that strike of yours in the final game.
Well, you know, I'm getting old. I only got a few more runs left in me.
All right, Jim Otterstrom from Brunswick. Nice to see you, Jim.
Mike, on behalf of Brunswick and ABC, I'd like to congratulate you on a great tournament. We look forward to seeing you in New Orleans.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Bet you thought Brunswick was not going to pay me anymore, huh?
He's always happy to see you too, Jim, it sounds like. Greg Blevins, ABC. Hi, Greg.
Hi. The American Bowling Congress is proud to be a part of the Brunswick World Team Challenge. I'd like to present you with these championship rings and congratulate you on your win here today. And good luck in New Orleans.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Greg. Thank you very much. And one of the gentlemen who did a lot of work here this week putting it all together, Ted Hoffman. Hi, Ted.
Hi, Bob. Thank you. Mike, congratulations. You guys did a wonderful job. On behalf of Earl Anthony and myself and the Lynn Shoe Company, we congratulate you. Here's your championship jacket. Good luck in New Orleans, and we'll see you next year.
Thanks.
Thank you, Ted. Earl Anthony with some other members of our championship team. Earl?
Well, I've got Ken Fernandez over here, and it looks like their training program was successful because it turned into a win. A winning's always fun, right?
You betcha, Earl, especially here.
Thanks, Kenny. And have you guys scouted out the restaurants, the Cajun food yet in Louisiana? You ready to go?
Just bring on the Hurricanes.
There you go. All right. Well, you're a great bunch of champions, and we're looking forward to having you defend here next year. But before we get into that part, I was kind of curious, what happened the first three shots and then the 7-10?
What 7-10?
What a memory you got. Short-term memory. Back to you, Bobby.
Mike, tell us briefly how this team came together.
Well, we had a few other members, but they couldn't show up and bowl some roll-off for us. So Ricky and I were team members for a number of years, and we brought crazier people. We needed a little crazier people. We got them now.
You seem to have a few of them. I think you found a few too many.
No, we'll fit right into New Orleans, I promise you.
Well, Mike, nice going again to you and your teammates. A wonderful performance. Was up in the air for a while, but then that last game you really pulled through right down the stretch.
Yeah, we have a great team. That's why we have Rick Berry down the anchor spot. I know who the best lefty on this team is.
All right, Earl, what do you say to that? Congratulations again. Mike McGrath, everyone else. Ladies and gentlemen, your champions from Dublin, California. We'll see them in Kenner, Louisiana.
The next World Team Challenge telecast is an open division event from Princess Bowl in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Check your local listings for dates and times. For Earl Anthony, this is Bob Dolan. So long from Earl Anthony's Dublin Bowl in Dublin, California. This has been an ABC Eagle Productions telecast.